Hey there, folks. Just wanted to talk with you guys a minute about critical infrastructure protection laws and the American Legislative Exchange Council, intimidation, and political prisoners. Now, if you've been following along the pipeline resistance movement, then you may have become familiar with these so-called critical infrastructure protection laws. Well, the way that these laws are written, it makes it a felony to trespass on property that's considered critical infrastructure. And essentially, they put this felony trespass together in an effort to keep us at home. You know, they're trying to scare people out of activism. And that's why they created this law. I say they, and when I say that in this instance, I'm referring to the American Legislative Exchange Council. Now, this is a group of corporations and legislators that work together to create laws in back rooms. And essentially, it's a right-wing group that writes laws which are then passed by legislative bodies around the country. So they create model legislation that any legislature could ratify. And that's what critical infrastructure protection laws are. Specifically, they're created by ALEC to intimidate activists away from protecting the water. And if you do a little bit of research on this, you'll find out that TransCanada, Exxon, Shell, Chevron, all these horrible energy companies, they're a part of ALEC. So ALEC works with legislators to put together these laws that are meant to intimidate activists. And so the other thing I wanted to talk with you guys about tonight is political prisoners. And this again goes hand in hand with what I was just talking about, because political prisoners are taken in an attempt to intimidate people. That's why they arrest activists, is to try and keep you guys at home and prevent you from getting out of the comfort of whatever it is that you treasure, and keep you scared, and they have Red Fawn Phallus, they have Ellen Gerhardt, the police. And this is the part that really pisses me off, is that prosecutors are willing to prosecute these laws. So it's one thing for the legislator to make the law, and it's another thing for the lobbyists to call for the law to be made. But it's a whole other thing for the prosecutors to decide to prosecute those laws. And this whole video is just to sum up for you guys the continuity of intimidation that's put together. And the final part of this, which I forgot to mention in the header, is media. Because what happens is the media will report on the oil pipeline fights as if there's some sort of horrible, dangerous place. Like, oh, the camps are disgusting and dangerous and contaminated, and don't go out there, you could get murdered. And the media reports on people like Red Fawn Phallus like she's some sort of horrible criminal. And meanwhile, this is a person who's out there praying for the water that got swept up by informants in an attempt to intimidate people like you and I. So, if you've been reading these news articles saying such and such of an activist got arrested for a long time, or such and such of a law is being put together to cause people to have felonies for activism, or if you've been reading news articles that are instilling fear into you, then take a long moment and reflect on whether those are actual news articles or whether you've just been exposed to propaganda. Because a lot of times the news that we get is actually propaganda meant to intimidate us. And again, if you go and look at the American Legislative Exchange Council, some of their members are from the media. So, you know, police and the media, politicians, and, you know, just overall society acts to try and prevent us from getting out there in the streets and making effective change. So I just wanted to draw that to your guys' attention and just, you know, pay a little bit of homage to the people who are sitting inside of jails right now, that they're being used to try and intimidate us. And I just wanted to encourage you all to, instead of being afraid, instead of allowing the intimidation of law enforcement, the intimidation of the media, the intimidation of politicians, instead of allowing any of that to scare you, I really, really hope that you take courage. And with all that said, I'll let you guys go. I hope you have a great rest of your night out there, and I'll talk with you again very soon.